What's up, everybody? Aaron and Abby here with I believe our second special edition here overall, and a much better special edition this time, thankfully. We are reviewing the movie that currently is available to rent on Apple or Roku. It should be rolling out to, I think, other streaming services. Any VOD. It's Bystanders, and here's the trailer now.
I am no good at this.
Just let Bree do it. We don't have all evening. The party's gonna be over by the time you get done. Besides, don't you want to look good for Cody?
Right,
Good. Strong a little bit.
Not so sweet anymore, are you? Gonna carve you pretty little things up just right.
Run! Go on, get! Go! You run fast! Move!
You can't tell me that you haven't met just one little slug begging for it.
Please! Stop!
No, I really can't say that I have.
No, please.
And that's the trailer for Bystanders. Directed by Mary Beth Andrews,
Yes.
First-time director. And overall, what were your initial thoughts going in, Abby?
So I really didn't know anything about this movie. I had seen like a couple of like my mutual Letterboxd people posting about it. It looked interesting. Like it looked like it was probably going to be more on like the horror comedy realm of things. So when I saw that we had the ability to watch it, I was like, yeah, let's watch it. It's a Sunday morning. Let's do it. And I really didn't know what it was about. I think that, yes, it is a horror comedy. I think that there's like some heavy things that are in this movie too, but I think it's done in a really like tasteful way that like a lot of other revenge, like if you've seen a lot of the revenge movies, you've seen like a lot of them are very similar and the same. This one, I think, I don't want to use the word tame because it is still very like bloody and gruesome and all of that, but I think it's a little bit different.
Yeah, and so just a quick synopsis or a little plot setup for Bystanders, and then I am going to put up the spoiler tag pretty quickly because of how we're going to have to talk about this movie. So before we go in any further, a little basic synopsis, plot setup for the movie. The movie's about a girl named Abby who goes with her friends to a frat party where they are drugged and essayed as well as hunted for sport and other things. And we're using essay instead of the word throughout this review. So anyways, as Abby mentioned, I do think there's a comedic angle to this movie, a cathartic comedic angle to this movie. And I'm just going to put up spoilers right away. This is not the most, when you're watching this movie, it's not the most dramatic as with regards to what's going to happen exactly, which typically for me is a problem. Usually I like to be a little bit surprised, a little bit, even if it's the characters I'm rooting for or I, believe in or I side with. I sometimes feel that's too easy. Here, it works extremely well. It's very cathartic. It's a feminist revenge story, essentially, but I don't think it, it doesn't try to make the characters who are the good characters necessarily that much better than the bad characters. It just, you agree with what they're doing as opposed to with the bad characters where they're just so disagreeable. I think in some ways you could say caricatures, but at the same point, I don't think they really are, in a lot of ways. And there is a reason movies like this still are made and make a good point and do feel as cathartic, I think, as they do. So, first-time director Mary Beth Andrews, huge fan of how she went about directing this because I don't think the budget was super high for this. So a lot of the kills are implied violence. You do see some gore. There's plenty of gore through the movie. There could have been a lot more. That's not a negative for me, though.
Yeah, for sure. I mean, I think There is also like a little bit of a twist in this movie too, which we've kind of been seeing it with like 2 other movies. For my first thought was like Low Lives or Getaway. But it's not quite that, which I think it was like done really cleverly. Since we have the spoilers up, the main thing is, so the 3 girls that are attacked by this group of guys, one of them gets away, the main girl, and then she comes upon some bystanders. It's a couple, they're driving to a wedding, they're minding their own business, but they just so happen to be like murderers, basically. Like
but they only kill bad people. They're basically a couple of Dexters.
Basically, they make it known that I think their whole MO is that they kill men who do terrible things to women, which it makes it a whole lot different. Like, then again, those other movies like Getaway and Low Lives, like those people are just bad people who like to murder. These are people who murder, but with a purpose. Yeah. I think it makes it a whole lot more cathartic, I guess, in the end. Again, like Aaron said, like this is it is very by the numbers. Like there is that little twist that I think is really good. But again, I think you can probably guess how the whole movie goes. What I was referring to in the very beginning of they kind of hold back a little bit. You don't see the actual assaults. They don't show it, which I think is very different when you think of a lot of like assault revenge type movies.
Irreversible, where you think, Spell on Your Grave.
Yep. Even Revenge, like actually the movie called Revenge, you all see it and it's very gruesome. And I think it has a purpose in those movies where it really, really wants to make you feel something and feel a certain way. But I think in this one, you still feel a certain way because this group of boys, they're terrible. They're awful. The language they use, the way they treat these girls, like it's just, you already dislike them without seeing any of like the explicit stuff. So I think that was really done well in this movie. I praise that a lot because I think a lot of the issues that a lot of people do have with movies like I Spit on Your Grave and all of those other ones is like the assaults are really graphic and really gross. And again, it makes its point, but this is an example of a movie where you don't have to show all of that and it still makes its point.
Yeah, and at the same point, this movie never loses the fun of it, which probably sounds unusual if you're listening to this.
The couple is like goofing around the entire movie, like cracking jokes while they're like torturing these boys. Like it is like there is like a lightheartedness to it, weirdly. And
they don't see these people as human either, which is like really great as well because you know I was interested as this movie goes, and we'll get to the ending in a little bit here, but I admit it's kind of long periods of violence towards these individuals. They're drawn out. It's 82 minutes and it keeps a really brisk pace. I'm glad this movie was under 90 minutes. I've said that a couple of times recently, and I do enjoy a longer movie as well, but this movie didn't need to do that. It made its point. Again, it wasn't dramatic really with who was going to survive. I wasn't sure if all of them would end up surviving.
I was gonna say they could have done it where the murder couple, they like one of them did. Like at first I thought they were gonna kill off the guy
Gray
in the end.
Yeah, Gray and Claire both are newer actors to me, at least. Yeah. And Garrett Murphy played Gray, and Jamie Alvey played Claire. Brandy Botkin played Abby. Those 3 are essentially the stars of this movie, along with Cody and his friends, which it's just like every time one of the new, like, it was just like one asshole dying after another. It was just like, oh, I can't wait to see what other horrible people show up because I know they're going to get their just desserts. So, and again, like often, a movie that I thought of with this that didn't work for me that was very obvious was Soft and Quiet. We both disliked that movie quite a bit. And one of my biggest problems with Soft and Quiet, spoiler alert slightly for that, is in the end, the good guys get punished still. So I'm just like, I don't really get I really don't get the point or the love with that movie. So if you like that movie, you can take offense from that. That's fine. Horrorville had it on their top 50. They have some crap on there, so it happens. But yeah, it's just I thought I thought Gray and Claire's like chemistry was really good right from the beginning. She's talking about how she believes she's pregnant now. They make a malignant joke about parasitic tumor twins, like, nice little nod there. I thought the writing throughout is really, good while being obvious and towing that line. And then we get to the end of the movie. These guys are getting taken out one by one in very different ways. And the entire time they're just like, they're trying to keep Abby from participating in the murders because they know, Gray and Claire know, we're fucked up. We're messed up. But we're doing the right thing with it. Kind of the Dexter justification again, while not being Dexter at all, like a very different type of tone. And then we get towards the end, it's just left with like Cody, the main essayer of the group. His friend Jeff shows up from a baptism, and he's like, before even getting through the door, being like, there better be there's just no doubt he's terrible. And it's but it's enjoyable, and it to me didn't come across as cheesy. It's just which again, first time director, I can't wait to see what else she does. I don't know if Mary Beth also directed or wrote the movie. I didn't check that, but at the same point, we get towards the end, then Cody's parents show up, and they're also terrible.
Everybody's awful.
They're all serial assaulters.
He's like a lawyer. It's a perfect profession.
Yeah, to cover
a terrible person.
Yeah, and just out loud talk, and just Cody, is this a prank? Oh my God, they killed Jeff. They don't even really care about Jeff at all. Jeff's hardly in the movie. He just shows up to get hit in the head with a baseball bat and then choked out by Claire. And that was one of my favorite deaths in the movie, honestly. And it's just they end up killing, the parents after, their parents are dad's so bad they could smell a burning body. Yeah. And he's like, I hate the smell of burning flesh. I told them to be more careful with this. As if it was just having a bonfire when they weren't supposed to.
Right.
And then they realize it, there's a little bit of a struggle there. And then, the movie just ends there. Yeah. They're walking away.
The three of them get away.
And they're like, we probably should call a lawyer. And then Claire's which is a great line to kind of finally, and Abby kills one person, ended up having to kill one person in the movie, shoots the dad in the face, a jugular shot actually, which as Gray's walking by, he sees the shot, he goes, oh, nice jugular shot. Very, very good humor throughout this somehow. And
I would say there is a little bit of cheese, even just lines like that. It is a little bit cheesy, but it's not so over the top that it's this is really stupid. I can't handle these lines. And there's definitely, again, the humor and the cheesiness kind of go hand in hand, even with the group of guys in the beginning. It's there.
Yeah. And at the end of the day, I just really enjoyed had a good time throughout this movie. I was just kind of blown away with that they were willing to go where they were and didn't relent on it towards the end. And just I think that this movie also does have a very good point to it as well, that still needs to be made. So that's why these types of movies are made. And I think particularly these types of movies are better when they are by female directors.
For sure.
I just do. Revenge is one of my favorites. Mm-hmm. This is a very different type from that, but at the same point, enjoyable nonetheless. So do you have any other spoiler thoughts before we
No, I don't think so. I think we covered pretty much the whole
Yep.
The whole
Hopefully
thing.
You didn't watch this before seeing the movie, but if you do, you can still enjoy the movie. We will get to our ratings now. All right. I'll let you go ahead and start with your rating, Abby, and final thoughts on Bystanders.
Yeah. So I did enjoy this. I think it was a pleasant surprise. I don't it's not the best movie that's going to come out this year, but I think it was enjoyable. I thought there was again, the humor, the cheesiness, I think worked really well. I think, again, the whole, I enjoy revenge movies. I really do. And I think, again, this one in particular held back enough that I was this is I feel like anybody could watch this. no matter what. Maybe with like the blood and gore, maybe they wouldn't, but I don't know. I thought it was a really good new take on like a revenge movie. So I gave it a 3.5. Again, it's not the greatest that's going to come out this year, but I think you should watch it. I think more people should see it.
Yeah, no, this one is growing on me even since watching it, I think. And I think I'll be championing this one throughout the year as one to like go to that people maybe aren't aware of. Another movie that it did bring up for me was with its energy was Loved Ones. Overall, it just kind of felt like almost like an Australian comedy, but with Americans, which I mean in a very, very good way. I'd love to see more of both Gray, Claire, and Abby. I think all three actors have a really interesting future. Maybe they'll continue to work with Mary Beth. Hannah Fireman shows up. So, I mean, know that there's some fans out there of hers. I'm giving this 4 videotapes out of 5 for now. And I would rewatch this movie when I'm in the mood for it. It's very cathartic and just an overall really enjoyable time. So I highly recommend once Bystanders becomes more available, or if you want to rent it, it's worth the rental in my opinion. And yeah, that will do it for this special edition. Thank you for joining Abby and I. And we will be back with John and Fiorella for Dexter. We'll be back with John for our flagship show this week. We'll be covering Presents. So looking forward to talking and disagreeing about that one. And yeah, this is Aaron. This is Abby. Have a good one.